Welcome to Entre News, a production of the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship.
Well, hello, viewers and listeners, and welcome again to the NFTE Entre News podcast. I'm your host, Dr. LaRock, the President and CEO of NFTE, the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship. And we're joined for this episode by my friend and colleague, Corey Mohn. Hey, Corey, how are you?
JD, it's good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Excited to be here.
Thank you. Great to have you on the show. You're a great friend of NFTE's through your work as President and Executive Director of CAPS. We do many things together, but first, before we get into all of that, please tell our viewers and listeners what exactly is the CAPS Network? What does it do? How does it work?
CAPS Network, it's been an evolution from an original program that started 16 years ago in the Kansas City area, really with the idea of let's give students that are in high school more opportunities for self-discovery and exploration to really understand what they like, what they're good at, and how they can, in their own unique way, make the world a better place. It's something that I think we all strive to figure out over the course of our lives. When I say we, this goes back before me being involved in the CAPS model, but the originators of this model thought, well, why are we waiting so long? Why don't we get involved in this earlier and give these students a chance? And really, what people know of CAPS is how we go about that process of self-discovery, which is this model of profession-based learning, giving students the opportunity to do that self-discovery, to explore through the lens of industry. And a lot of that involves the type of things that you all in the NFTE world care about. We talk a lot about entrepreneurial mindset and building that, and giving students that are interested the chance to build their own products and services and to launch businesses, but also for students that maybe aren't in that kind of realm of or that level of creation. How do you become an entrepreneur? How do you take that mindset and apply it to industries like medicine and healthcare, engineering, biosciences, and many, many others? And so the network has really been the piece that's allowed that original concept to grow beyond the original program. So we now have programs that we help support on board and then connect across the country, a few spots globally, but about 125 program locations. Yeah, wanting to just continue to push the envelope on what the system of school can do and giving more students opportunities, great ones like they're getting in the NFTE model as well.
And say a little bit more about how exactly it works. So you're working with students in schools, you're working with employers. I've heard you talk about making a match between students and employers to work on a project. It might not be like the top project that's on the employer's list, but I think I've heard you said, it might be eighth, ninth, 10th on the list, but it's still an important project. And that's where the extra capacity that the students who work with the employers provide comes into play. Say a little bit more about how exactly that all comes together in a typical example.
I appreciate it. You said it very well, JD. We'll have to take you on the road to help us with some marketing for CAPS. But yeah, the bread and butter of the model, and something that I think makes it very relatable in terms of what this is and how it's different than this for a lot of us, the experience we had in school, is how do you during the school day allow students to truly live into and be those young professionals as opposed to just being a teenager, just being a high school student. And for us, it comes down to the authenticity of the project or the work that the students are doing, the just in time nature of it. And for the educators that support this work, how do you create something that you can cycle the students through and feel comfortable that it's scoped appropriately? And so to hit the bullseye and all of that, it really comes down to this idea of the students being positioned as consultants to businesses, nonprofits, and entrepreneurs. And then what is it that they can do with those businesses, nonprofits, and entrepreneurs? And we often talk about, and you referenced it, the 10th thing on the to-do list. Everyone has a 10th thing on their to-do list. You never get to it. It's not mission critical, but there's a reason it's on your list. There's something there. There's a way that with a little bit of help you could get started on that, that idea that might lead to something that adds value to a business. And it's an amazing way to truly get involved as a student, to see what that culture is in that industry, to kind of be able to practice those skill sets. Some of them are technical, a lot of them are what we would call durable skill sets. So managing a project, exhibiting leadership, experiencing teamwork and what happens when there's tension on the team with different ideas. Those are things you can tease out relatively quickly if you have that authentic project. And so we found that that is a way to accelerate students into that world of being a young professional, being an entrepreneur, and it allows them to build confidence. And once you have confidence and you have a better sense of what you're trying to accomplish, what that light at the end of the tunnel is for you, then look out, right? Like the world is your oyster, as they say, and it allows you to have that grit and determination and resiliency to get after it. And that's at the point in time when educators and professionals like myself stop worrying about, is this person going to be well positioned? It's like at this point they've got it, and now they can make the pivots they need to make as they see opportunities out in the world for them.
How did you first get involved with CAPS Network? Tell our viewers a little bit about your own background and professional journey.
I think one of the reasons I really appreciate the work of Nifty and of other organizations that engage in this entrepreneurial lane is that that's really my career experience prior to being at CAPS was in entrepreneurship and economic development. So when I was 23, I started a business. I had really no idea what I was doing when it came to the process of starting a business, and it was harrowing in the sense that I had always grown up like, tell me what I need to do to see that I have achieved at a certain level and give me that measuring stick and let me then race to get as close to 100% as I can to show that I can, knock it out of the park and do the thing. And, that served me well until I got out into the actual world and realized that to do something like start a business, you have to fail. You have to like take chances. You have to step into areas that you've never stepped in, and you have to learn very quickly. And it's okay for that to happen. In fact, it's almost required that that happen because otherwise you will big F fail. And in my case, it was, do I want this business that we just started to be successful and to be able to grow and to have clients and to serve them well? And if the answer is yes, that means that every single day I'm going to have to do something I've never done before. And that, I'm telling you, I had more sleepless nights, JD. It was like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, and I'm sweating about that. I'd never felt that way before. But the beautiful thing was, over time, I also felt the exuberance and the exhilaration that came with starting something and having a venture. And when something did go well, and when we learned something that really gave us insights that allowed us to sharpen our saw, like that was so exciting. And the thrill of the chase, right? Like there was no steady paycheck. It's eat what you kill. And you got to go find those projects. And so that was really exciting. But I got into supporting others that were on entrepreneurial journeys, did that through nonprofit work, through state government, through municipal government. I really enjoyed that and didn't really understand why I enjoyed it. I thought it was because I was still in that entrepreneurial lane and kind of in that economic development world. But in reality, realized when I got into my 30s that really what got me excited about that work was I was using the ability to connect people to help them drive forward on their dreams and aspirations. And that, in a roundabout way, is what allowed me to see myself in a role in education. Because otherwise, I would have just said, well, that's a 180 from economic development, from entrepreneurship, from working in the business world. And then how it actually happened is a much longer story than we have time for, but it's the power of keeping your eyes and ears open and going there with people when they want to have a meeting, when they want to have a conversation. Someone who I'd only known for about 2 months, we'd had a couple of meetings, shared something about an opportunity and said, can I share with you this opportunity? And I was willing, I guess, to say yes and to hear her out. And it turned into this amazing world of CAPS and profession-based learning and all the things that we all in the ecosystem get excited about. And so I said yes. My family and my close friends thought I was nuts, but here I am 11 years later, loving every minute of it. And I don't see the end in sight. And so I'm excited.
We don't need to put what Nifty does or what CAPS Network does into any kind of box, but I wonder how you think about it in the context of education systems in the US and around the world today. Because as you know, there's all these conversations going on right now about where the historic standard education system is succeeding and where it's not doing so well, what
Yeah.
students in a 21st century economy and a technological economy need. There's a lot of thoughts about some of the social issues that we face in society and whether we're preparing young people to deal with other people in the right ways, whether just in their communities or in workplaces. There are aspects of what each of our organizations do that, some's in school, some is out of school, it's project based, it's experiential, it's connected to employers. So it's hard to categorize, and we don't need to put it into a box. But I'm really curious to hear more from you about where you think CAPS Network fits in, given all of the debates and challenges that we're facing with education in this country right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question and a deep question. I hope I can raise my level of insight here to meet the quality of that question because there's a lot to that. I would agree with you. I don't think Nifty or CAPS or other models that are out there that are doing things differently, making the experiences more active for students, really trying to meet them where they are in terms of their level of interest and not completely standardizing everything and trying to get everyone to fit in one size fits all. I don't know that there's a box that fits in anyway. I think we can do our best to try and find synergies and find ways that things connect. But to me, it's more like a set of Lego blocks, not in the sense of here's a set of Lego blocks and here's the one thing you can build with it. It's here's a set of Lego blocks and what do you want to make, right? And so it allows there are pieces of that that obviously are available, the resources, different groups that have curricula, those are the blocks. But there's no one right way to put those together for any individual student, and there's no one right way. And this is Corey's opinion. I don't think there's one right answer for a system. Every system is going to be different. Every community is going to be different. And we really lean into that at CAPS to the point that we've changed a lot of the language we use when we work with districts and schools. For example, one thing that you hear a lot when people are working to scale a model is do the members of whatever that is, the network or your customers, are they meeting a level of fidelity around your model? Not to badmouth that at all. I think that's a really important consideration. But in our world, we think more about are we living with integrity versus fidelity? And the reason for that is we believe there are lots of different flavors of CAPS. If you're in Pryor, Oklahoma, your model needs to look different than if you're in Danbury, Connecticut. There are different considerations, there are different industry partners. The systems are all different. So how do we think about it? Well, we think about the flexibility. We think about there are resources out there. I think a lot about CAPS as a framework and that there are lots of other tools, toolkits, resources, methods that exist out in the world that can fit in with that framework depending on what location is operating. And specific to our work, JD, I think about Nifty and we're engaging in a really exciting project to take the CAPS model to the middle school level. We've got a CAPS framework and we're working to refine that for the middle school level, but it's also opening up an opportunity for us to say, connected to that framework, here's some programming, here's some curricula that exist at Nifty that we believe some of our affiliates that are going to experiment in that middle school space can utilize to maximize their impact around that framework. And so that opens up the playground for us, which I love because I love connecting with people and with those that are doing great things, and allows us to not be competitive, but rather to be working together and collaborating. And so I guess that's the worldview over here. And hopefully that answered at least part of your question.
Yeah, no, it's really fascinating to hear your reflections on, where operations like ours fit in. I've been thinking that for a long time, people in the public education community have been focused on the core experience of school formally. And there are always a lot of important discussion and debates about what that core experience should be. And I have come to believe that while we definitely need to be working on that all the time, maybe one thing that organizations like ours do is we play a role that has always been there, but the way in which that role has played out has changed. So, for example, Think back 2 generations or 3 generations ago, it was much more common for students in public schools to have something going on in their lives where they were connected one way or another to their communities. It might be through something like Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, or through a civic organization, community volunteering, something like this. This is a standard thing that lots of young people did. And that was a vehicle for them to learn about some of the skills that programs like ours impart: dealing with people, dealing with problems, dealing with uncertain situations, figuring things out. The other thing that used to happen more among young people, and particularly teenagers, that happens less consistently now across the US, is that people have jobs. Young people have jobs. They don't have jobs as consistently as they did in prior generations. So while many students still do work for pay, programs like ours, because of our connection to the world of work and employers and their issues and how you get along in a workplace environment, help to fill that need too. So for me, what this is all adding up to is kind of a idea that when we think about education, and if we want to think about it really properly and comprehensively, we have to think about in school time and formal academics, and out of school time and the connection points between the two. Because again, whether it's CAPS Network or NFTE, we're not only out of school time, we're actually really connected to both sides of that equation. Organizations like ours have a role to play in education systems today. Another collaboration that we're doing is around policy advocacy. The idea that programs like ours and others like NAF and Build and Virtual Enterprises and the Possible Zone and American Student Assistance, all organizations who, in one way or another, are thinking about and working on these same things. We've all banded together to try to elevate the importance of what we do. Tell me why you think that's important for CAPS Network to be a part of, and what you hope to be getting out of that effort that we've been involved in together with other colleagues for a couple of years now.
I'm really excited about that, and for a number of reasons, which I'll share. I did want to go back to your previous commentary there, JD, because in addition to everything you said, which I agree with, I also see the connecting points around the traditional system or core learning, however you want to define it. Within the system, there are ways in which, and I strongly believe this and I see it every day, you can have an experience, and I'll just use CAPS as an example since that's what I know best, but you can have a CAPS experience inside of your school system. It's not that or core, right? It's a complement, it's a supplement. And we talk a lot about that because it's honestly the way that we potentially do tip this system of education to make it more authentic and engaging is you have to plant the seeds inside the system. So the out of school stuff is really important. The work that students are doing in the community, really important. And if you can have some of that planted in the system too. And the trick to that is you can't get it planted in if you're coming in to take out the system, right? The system will tell you no. We're not going to let you in here. So that's really important. But to your last question there, so excited about this collaboration for a number of reasons. One is we have at the CAPS Network, we're a small but mighty team. We've got a lot of affiliates running kind of around our model and participating with us, but at the same time, we really empower our local affiliates, those directors, administrators, and those community members and industry partners to drive the bus in those communities. And because we are a lean and mean team at the nonprofit level, it's hard for us to find capacity to go on our own to advocate for policy or for change or whatever you want to say in that regard. For the last several years, we haven't really played in that space. We've looked to others that are, and we've tried to be supportive of their efforts. But, and this is to your credit, JD, and to your team, your willingness to say, hey, there's some power in all of us coming together, and we're willing at NFTE to help organize the coalition to go and do some things together has been a game changer for us because it's allowed us to participate in a way that we can truly provide the level of support and capacity and time and travel that we can to be a part of it, but without all the rest of that capacity that has to be there to make it happen. And so it's been great fun over the last several months to be a part of the coalition. I know we made a visit out in April to Washington, D.C., and to be able to participate in that and to support the coalition and to find those common grounds where we can all lean in and say, like, these are things we all believe in, has been rewarding. And just in general, like, that's the spirit of who I am. And I think the spirit of CAPS has always been like, let's keep our eyes and ears open to those that are trying to do something that shares purpose with us. And how do we find ways to work together? And so it's given us another example of that, that I've been then able to go back to our board, to be able to go back to our affiliates and say, look, these are other people out in the world doing really cool things that relate to what we're trying to accomplish. They do it all a little bit differently. They're friends of ours, and that's powerful. That's how you get beyond linear scale around a purpose to more exponential scale, is you have more people out there doing their thing, but they see the cross connection to how helps you. And then all of us have our eyes and ears open to how we can help each other. You can't build that yourself. Like, right? You just can't. You'd have to have an endless supply of resources to pull that off, and no one has that. And so this is a really effective way in the 21st century to make positive things happen. And so I'm looking forward to the continued coalition work. And I just appreciate that CAPS has been included, and I appreciate you for bringing us along. And our job now is to continue to add value so that we can pull others up and have them be a part of it as well, and to make sure that we're supporting everything that you all are working towards as well.
Well, we're grateful to have you as key partners in this endeavor. And, it's funny, NFTE is the network for teaching entrepreneurship. CAPS is a network, it's in your name too.
Yep,
And that word is very much connected to my idea behind starting our entrepreneurship education coalition and the work we've done on Capitol Hill. And I hope before long in state legislatures too. It's this idea that we are a network. We're an informal network of organizations at this point, but we could actually become a more formalized network. And that is powerful for all the reasons that you said. I mean, talk
absolutely.
about where CAPS is strongest. NFTE has got a lot of presence, as you know, in Florida and Texas, New York, California. What are some of the key states for CAPS?
One of the unique things about CAPS Network, when you look at kind of the innovation and education world, right or wrong, I tend to think wrong because I'm a Midwesterner and I see the innovation that happens here in the middle of the country. But, right or wrong, a lot of people look to the coast when it comes to, like, where am I getting my inspiration? And it's not that we haven't looked there as well, but we also see the innovative spirit and the entrepreneurial spirit of the heart of the country. And so this model with CAP started in the Kansas City area. And I think because of that, and because of the way that this model started to take off, and we said, well, what if this could become a school network? And we kind of said, hey, is anybody interested in this? And we had people that were out in other districts that were interested. Because of where we started, a lot of the initial interest over the first several years was in the Midwest. So you look at states like Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, when you get to the upper Midwest, and then you come down in Missouri, Kansas, a lot of activity, a lot of programming. So Midwest is and will always be kind of a core area for us. But I would also say it's been interesting to see where other places have picked up energy and steam around this model. And it's a testament to them and the fact that some of those original programs, districts that lifted up the CAPS model and framework had the same spirit and said, hey, if you're interested, come see us, let us know how we can help you. And it led to expansions in states like Utah, where we have 11 affiliate partners. We're approaching a third of the districts in the state of Utah are operating the CAPS model. That's really interesting. I'm kind of like location agnostic. I'm like, if students benefit, we should go there. And so that's where we end up with programs that have launched in Kenya and Kuwait and, our northern partners in Canada that have started up some activity. It's spreading and it's in a lot of different pockets. But yeah, the Midwest is really an anchor for us. And then we see as it expands to places like Arizona or Utah or up in the state of Washington and the Seattle area, ones that are a little harder to explain, but it's because people just planted a flag and then were very collaborative and said, hey, if anyone else wants to do this, come see us. We'll be happy to help you. And that's led to some additional growth for us.
Yeah. And that's precisely why the coalition way of working can be so powerful, because each of our organizations is trying to operate in many places, though we tend to have, through history and where we were established, pockets of strength in particular areas. when we join together, we can go to our nation's capital and meet with a legislator and say, we represent your constituents because NFTE is here, here, and here. CAPS is here, here, and here. This other
Right.
organization is here, here, and here. And pretty soon, you paint a picture of truly national impact and reach for what we're doing. I'm curious to get back to CAPS students and what they get from the whole experience. So I'd love to hear about what CAPS network participants typically say after they've gone through the experience that you and your organization provide. What
Yep.
stays with them? What do they speak about?
Yeah, that's a very timely question, JD. I actually will be hosting our annual CAPS Network board meeting this afternoon. And one of the discussion topics is something that we did 2 years ago, and we just initiated again here over the last several months, which is alumni survey. We go out and we work with our affiliate programs across the country and ask them essentially to go find their former students, which, as you know from the work you do, that's not the easiest thing to do, especially when you're talking high school level versus college level. You got to keep some kind of communication with them as they leave you and go off and do other things. But we've had a lot of success in finding former students and asking them a whole series of questions. And the one that came up 2 years ago, and it came up again very strongly in this more recent survey, which when I first saw it 2 years ago, I was excited about what the students were saying, but at the same time, I was also cringing a little bit from the standpoint that it meant that students that maybe didn't have this kind of experience, and not just CAPS, whether it's CAPS or NFTE or NAF or other models, like we know that when students get experiences, when they are given a chance to individualize more, that they get benefit from that. So what I'm referencing is we ask on a scale of 1 to 5, how important are these skill sets and these opportunities now that you're reflecting back, not in the moment, but after it's been a few years and you're out in the world, now you're looking back at these. What's most important to you? Give us a sense. And the one that scored the highest 2 years ago out of, I don't know, 15 to 20 different things that we put in front of them as far as skill sets was the ability to positively respond to mistakes. That was
Mm.
number one. I'm like, okay, that is incredibly powerful. I know that from my own lived experience of what I shared earlier about sweating through, starting and running a business. If you can do that, if you can positively respond to mistakes, you can do just about anything. And we're talking like, 4.7 out of 5 average over close to 1,000 responses 2 years ago. I mean, it's like almost every one of them said 5 out of 5. That's incredibly important. But generally, what we're looking at when we talk to current students as they finish up a semester or we're talking to former students, we are honing in, and what we're hearing from students is their ability to develop confidence around those durable skills. My ability to communicate effectively, my ability to energize other people around a purpose, my ability to manage a project, my ability to get up in front of a large group of people and give a presentation or go one-on-one with an industry partner like JD LaRock and be able to talk to him and look him in the eye and feel confident that I can get what I need from JD to help me with what I'm doing. And so bringing that in, having that be an integral part of a course that you take in high school has really made a difference. And that's what we hear from our students. Now, you hear other things too. You hear about the technical skills. You hear about, hey, this positioned me to go out and get into that industry, and I got ahead of my peers in college trying to get into business or trying to get into medicine or trying to get into engineering. But the thing that just resonates, and it's so clear, is that students feel that they can lead, that they have the ability to lead, to be entrepreneurial, and that confidence just means everything to them. And the fact that they were trusted. And I'll leave it with this, JD, that the one line that we hear more than any other line from students when they're done with the experience, if they're talking to someone else about should I be participating in this as a peer of yours, what they'll tell those students is you will get out of it what you put into it. And that is absolutely true because we're giving a lot of freedom. There's a responsibility that comes with it. But if you take advantage of it, man, you can go as far as you want. And if you don't, hey, that's on you. Like this is your opportunity. So students that take advantage of it get a whole heck of a lot out of it. And even those that don't, they realize later, okay, I see where I'm could have done better. And now I can take those steps and move forward. And that's encouraging because that is the entrepreneurial way. It's the American way. We are entrepreneurship.
I think about Nifty in the context of American society because most of my career, as you know, has been as a government policy maker. And so I think about things like this a lot, but I never quite expressed it in the way that you just did. And I love it. The idea that America is entrepreneurship. Yeah, we call it the revolutionary spirit, right? The rebellious spirit, but I guess there's something of the entrepreneurial spirit in there too, or else there wouldn't be a country in the first place. So what a great note to end. Well,
That's
Corey,
right.
thank you for your time and for your leadership and then everything that you and your colleagues are doing. CAPS is such a great organization, and we're really lucky to partner with you and looking forward to doing even more great things together. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure was all mine, JD. Thank you.
And viewers, thank you very much for joining us for another episode of Entre News. Keep watching and listening. We love to hear your comments. We love to hear your suggestions about what we might cover next. So please stay tuned, and thanks again for joining us. Take care.
Entre News is a production of the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship. For more information, visit nfte.com.